Now, these are some of the highlights that have come from some of the committees. I would like to understand from your own committee. You also have issues like citizenship, indigenship,
immigration, the whole lot. Yeah, you see, many people don't understand the work of the committee. They think it's about immigration, which is misleading. If you think very carefully, there's no controversy really about Nigerians versus foreigners. The bulk of the controversy is within Nigeria. These issues of indigenship, residency, what rights they should confer, when do you qualify to enjoy all the perks in a place, even if you're non-indigene. These are the sort of discussions also. Displaced persons around the country, people who are refugees on account of various disasters, natural disasters, even economic refugees. That is why you've had issues like a state governor or two trying to round up people and then supposedly exporting them or transferring them to a different state, claiming that that's where they belong. These are the controversial and contentious issues. And interestingly, for my committee, if you had recorded how we began our discussions and the amount of argument on some topics on the first day or second day, you would have thought that these guys will never reach consensus. But I can tell you that, look, remarkably, through debating issues, bringing in experts from outside, bringing more information, looking at other countries, re-examining the past, asking ourselves what type of Nigeria do we want in the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, looking ahead instead of looking backwards, trying to avoid the mistakes of the past. Eventually, the group started moving together and the differences started disappearing. And at the end of the day, if my records are right, we reached consensus on every single item without even having to vote. And I'm talking about 100% consensus. And it might sound puzzling to you, but at the end of the day, is there really any Nigerian that wants a situation where the Nigeria of our dreams in the future will be any worse than what we have today? So you can reach agreement on the direction. You can learn from other countries who have surmounted such things. And when you present the facts and you debate things, people actually get enlightened. I got enlightened by rubbing minds. And as we will all get enlightened and as we establish facts, the difficulties fade away. Those who were cynical and so on, slowly they begin to see that there's only one direction to go. And also people forget and underestimate something. The extent to which Nigerians have married against ethnic groups, amongst ethnic groups. Inter-ethnic marriages in Nigeria in 2014, where we stand now, is huge multiple of where it was in the mid-60s.
But I would like to understand from you, like you said, you people have had a lot of discussions. Going forward from the recommendations you arrived at, I would like to know how practicable it would be, how to implement them, because a lot of time people have said that we've had laws to handle some of these issues.
We have, the laws were clumsy. We went through that. Okay. The laws were contradictory and they were clumsy. Okay. And I don't want to have this reduced to going into specific sections of the law and constitution. They were contradictory. Okay. On the one hand, you promised, just to give a general direction, on the one hand, you promised people free movement of Nigerians, free movement of persons, goods, and you can live wherever you like. On the other hand, in the same document, you now turned around and said, for ministerial appointment, one from each state, and they use the word indigene. If anybody can move anywhere and reside there and become a part of that place, why did you now have to prescribe that to be appointed a minister, you should be an indigene of that particular state? In effect, therefore, you were disqualifying a resident who had been there for a long time. That created arguments about who was an indigene and who was not. I'm sure we all know of at least one minister that was appointed from Lagos State who were rejecting and saying that he's not from here, he's not from there. So in effect, the laws were clumsy and gave rise, in any case, you used the expression indigene of a state. Nowhere was the word indigene defined. In some countries, they define the word indigene. I know some countries in Europe where the definition is that if any one of your 4 grandparents is from this place, then you're an indigene. In Nigeria, there was no definition. So some use father, some use mother, some use 1 grandparent, some say 2 grandparents. So there was chaos. And that's why you find that there are cases that have been all the way to Supreme Court. somebody is being rejected saying that he's not qualified for something. And the guy is showing that, but hang on a second, my mother is from here, or my grandfather, there was no definition of indigene even in the document. Now, I'm not saying that therefore we should define indigene. I personally favor moving beyond that, and practicing the principles that were clearly the positive ones of encouraging and allowing free movement of people. But that comes with a responsibility. If you move to a place and you reside there, you must meet all your obligations in that place. It's no use being a trader in Kano for 40 years and you never paid tax once, and you came from somewhere else and you're demanding the rights of full rights from residency. You must have met your part, and there's this concept that in this country we've overlooked for too long, which is people demanding rights without meeting the obligations. You've got to meet your obligations. You've got to be able to say that I reside in a place, I've complied with the law, I'm doing a lawful business, I've paid my taxes, I've met my due, I'm registered to vote, I'm voting for the governor or for the senator and so on, and therefore also have a right to be voted for. But if you start doing things like you come to a place to do business, you don't pay taxes there, you run back to your village to go and pay tax to get a receipt so that you can apply for land over there. Likewise, when it's time to register for voting, you run back to your village. So somebody can define and say, look, bring the following items to show that you reside somewhere: your voter's card, your tax receipts, and it's a bit more difficult with unemployed. But the point I'm making is that if you are gainfully employed, and there are millions of Nigerians who are even in the formal sector, then you've got to also meet your obligations. Rights don't come without obligations.
Okay, but my own now is that your recommendations, you're looking at them, they will be more easily implemented.
Our recommendations will be more in line with the future Nigeria that we all want to see. And I think there was an agreement as to what sort of future Nigeria we wanted to see. And in some of these arguments, the country actually went backwards. That is, before you were born, Zik ran for elections in Ibadan. It was accepted. 30 years later, it was taboo. So the country actually went backwards. In some respect, we are trying to reverse that backward movement, bring it back up to where it should have been, and equally take Nigeria forward. At the end of the day, also, nationhood does not grow on trees. You become a nation when you progressively eliminate all these differences of where you came from, who your parentage was. You're a German. It gives you a right to stay in Germany. And people drop all those differences when they realize that it doesn't matter where you go to in Germany. Your rights, obligations are the same. Nobody hinders with your movement. Nobody hinders with your activities. You're free to do exactly what you want to do. Interestingly, in the US, I think they were talking about a presidential library for Obama. And among the various states that were bidding to host the library, Hawaii were claiming that they have a right to bid because he grew up in Hawaii. New York State was saying he went to university there, they want the library. Chicago says he worked there. So everybody's saying that, look, he's our son. In Nigeria, we would have been sometimes we are all trying to reject somebody. And there are Nigerians whom everybody rejects. The father side rejects them, the mother side rejects them, all sides reject them because they've lived somewhere else. During
the week, the issue of the abducted schoolgirls from Chibok in Borno State became an international issue. And it's something the conference had actually talked about immediately it happened. Now, going forward, from that time that the conference delegates looked at it in plenary to now, would you say how would you assess government's efforts so far?
So let me just make one thing clear. My only interest in the Chibok girls is focusing attention and putting them first. Okay. What is best for the girls. Okay. I'm not really interested in all discussions and so on that have no impact or bearing on improving the lot of the girls, their families and their parents. Okay. That is my focus. From that perspective, I am glad that it has become obvious. Even I heard on TV, federal government has confirmed, so too as the President Obama and so on. I'm happy and I'm satisfied that the government has reached out to get assistance from our advanced nations who have the resources, technology to help us to solve this kind of problem. I have always felt personally that there are two problems that threaten Nigeria and Nigerians in such a severe way that we should not be proud, and that for those two broad areas that I'm going to mention, it struck me that our own collective efforts, based on the level of development and our resources, was such that if we try and solve it all by ourselves, it will take too long. The two areas were one, security, and the other one was oil theft. For both of them, I felt that we could make a lot more progress faster if we were humble and sought assistance from friendly countries, more advanced countries who have the wherewithal to help us to win those battles. And it is sad that it has taken the Chibok girls to build some sort of a national consensus that we should not be proud. Whether it is the US, whether it is France, whether it is China, if I were the parent of a Chibok girl, I don't care who's coming to help me, I just want my daughter back. I don't care about sovereignty in the world, some one later. Let me have my daughter back alive. So that all this thinking that we must find a homegrown solution. Homegrown solution to what? To saving my daughter's life? I will sooner solve the problem and get my daughter back with a foreign solution. And then we can worry about the issues of homegrown later. So for me, it's clear that should be the focus. Okay. And I'm happy that we are now getting the most advanced nations in the world supporting us. So let's look at the way forward. We can keep on doing an inquest as to who did what, who didn't do what, and the other. And it's also, sometimes they say nations grow out of incidents like this. I think, with the benefit of hindsight, it was even good that the Boko Haram leader appeared on TV and was talking all that nonsense. It's a pity that he took an incident like this, but before now, there were so-called experts in the US who were arguing that the US government should not get involved, because this is a Nigerian thing, and all kinds of nonsense. Now they've all taken flight. They saw the madman on TV talking complete nonsense, and they realized that this is almost a mental case that should be taken out in the interest of humanity.
Okay, now I would like to understand from you, we're at a national conference right now. Looking back at how this whole thing started, the insurgency, the security issue, do you think there are points to note that can even be useful for the delegates right now as we rethink Nigeria?
Yes. I mentioned security, I mentioned oil theft. Yes. I mentioned those two things because I think both of them we as a nation, I don't mean as a government, as a nation, we underestimated them. Okay. So that some of us have always been emphasizing that we appear to be constantly underestimating the damage done to us by Boko Haram. And I say that because even now that there was a partial lockdown in Abuja to ensure the safety of an event to which we've invited global leaders and the whole African business community and so on, some people still don't get the fact that without that sort of lockdown, by now we might have had already one or two bomb incidents. Boko Haram attacks soft targets. That kind of evil person is more difficult to deal with. Let me explain what I mean by soft targets. They will not go and try and bomb the US embassy because they know that's a hard target. Somebody who will go to a primary school or secondary school and just open fire on sleeping students, he can do that endlessly almost. So let's get real, because what he's doing is going after people who are defenseless. So trying to counter that kind of problem, you must use all available resources to quickly see if you can outwit that kind of person and put him, out of his misery forever. My final message on this whole Chibok matter, and I pray that the girls are released and they are all safe, and I pray for the families every day, is that out of this incident, perhaps Nigerians will realize that from the lessons of history is that it's not governments that solve this kind of problem. It is Nigerians that will defeat Boko Haram. Let's not think that it's the government official that will do it. The lesson of history is that until we all decide to put aside our differences, put aside our sort of local politics and so on, and work together against Boko Haram, we are reporting every incident. We are all united against them. And it's sad, but perhaps this Chibok incident has helped to galvanize many Nigerians to decide that enough is enough. It doesn't matter whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, whether you're APC, whether you're PDP, Labour Party, you should be united against Boko Haram. That is the priority. And we're only going to defeat Boko Haram when we stop this nonsense of divisions among us on the issue of terror. We've seen other countries. In Britain, they had train bombings, US World Trade Center. There was unity against the evil party. You know, and we're almost there now where, as a collective unit, nobody is picking up again with hints of sympathy for Boko Haram. We've lost our sympathy. But the next thing is that we have to use this energy positively, to move together, work together, cooperate, bring together leads, share them with our own security forces, with the foreigners helping us to solve the problem. So I'm not interested in people calling me to say, oh, have you heard this person did the wrong thing, that person said the wrong thing. I'm interested in what action we can take to do the right thing and solve the problem tomorrow.
Now that is it for today on the program. We will be here with you next week, updating you on the recommendations that committees would have arrived at as they complete their work. Till then, I'm Lanre Lasisi.